Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Orem, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. How is everyone doing around the Deep Dive Podcast world? I'm excited to be here with you another week. Time flies, man. It seems like we just did this, like yesterday, but it's been a whole week. But certainly, I'm happy that all of you were able to join me tonight on this episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Welcome all of you who are tuning in from all over the world. We're in some 172 countries around the globe, so we're excited about that. Welcome all of you who are new to the Deep Dive Podcast. We know we have our loyal listeners that tune in every week, but every week we also get some new listeners, so we certainly welcome you to the Deep Dive Podcast. Hey guys, I'll try not to be very long tonight, but the topic I wanted to share with you, I think it's going to be important because it's going to help a lot of people just based on some of the comments and information feedback that I've been getting through the website and through the Facebook page. So we'll talk about that. But before I get into that again, thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Those of you who are new, please do me a favor. Just like the podcast, subscribe, download, share it, all those type things, because it gives us even a larger platform to be able to spread our messages of entertainment as well as empowerment. So thank you for your support. And I look forward to just continuing to work with all of you all over the world. So again, I want to talk to you a little bit tonight about a topic that I think so many people have been asking about in just varying ways. And so I kind of wanted to capture just the thought of what it means, the limitlessness of life, the limitlessness of life. I was on a podcast, I don't know, it's probably been months and months ago now, and something came up and talked about the limitlessness of life. And I said I was going to do a podcast specifically about that because I think it's very important to understand what it is and why it's so important right now for everybody to understand what the limitlessness of life is all about is because we're dealing with, and I've said this on my company meetings and just some other meetings, I think a lot of people are dealing with the curse of stagnation right now. I think so many people are stagnated, whether it's in their lives, their relationships, their businesses, whatever the case may be. And we kind of have to break that curse, right, of stagnation in order to be able to move forward. If you don't really understand what that means, the curse of stagnation or just to be stagnant, it just means you feel kind of hopeless in terms of, okay, what do I do next? Or how do I approach this? What can I do to make this better? And then you don't have any answers. That's that curse of stagnation where you're just kind of standing still. And my mentor always taught me that if you're standing still, you're really not moving, you're not growing. The world continues to grow, the universe continues to move forward, but you're still stuck in stagnation. So we kind of have to get out of that a little bit. And I wanted to give you just a breakdown of the concept of what the limitlessness of life is all about, just in a little more detail. Just kind of take some notes on this. This is nothing deep, but if you can master this, then I think it'll help you in terms of moving beyond where you are. I talked to you last week on the podcast about delayed gratification, right? This is that next phase in understanding what delayed gratification means, feeling stagnated, but then now understanding the limitlessness of life. When there are no limits, there can be no stagnation. So I want you to understand that if you're not driving, I want you to take a couple of notes. And if you are driving, make sure you listen to this again when you get home or get settled so that you can take some notes, because I think, again, it's important for you to understand what the limitlessness of life is all about. First of all, you want to write this down, but the limitlessness of life, it talks about infinite possibilities. Think about that, just how bright that sounds. Infinite possibilities. Now, if you compare that with stagnation, it has a feeling of negativity. It has a feeling of, well, I don't know what to do next, but infinite potential. That's just like a breath of fresh air. What is infinite potential things? Well, growth, right? There's an infinite opportunity for you to grow. There's an infinite opportunity for you to change. There's an infinite opportunity for you to develop. Here's the problem with that. Here's the challenge with that. Most people don't take the initiative to grow or to change or to develop themselves, to get better. Everything that I do, I become a student of it, so that not only do I know what I'm doing, but I need to know how I'm doing, what I'm doing, why I'm doing what I'm doing. And in the event that I'm the only one that is in a position to do it, then I need to have the capability or the competence to do what I'm doing. All of this is just infinite potential as it relates to your limitlessness of life. You know, life is seen as having these limitless potentials and things of that nature, which suggests that there are endless opportunities for those things that I just talked about: growth, change, develop. Those are three things. And I want you guys to write down two more adjectives to describe what infinite potential is. Just write down two more in addition to the three that I gave you in terms of growth, change, and development, personal development, self-development, but development in its totality. Just add two more things to that, just so that I know you're engaged and you're, expanding beyond even what this conversation is about. Something else it talks about with limitlessness of life is no fixed boundaries. No fixed boundaries. Again, when you think about that, it's so freeing, because it's like you never get to the end of whatever it is that you're seeking to do. And if it's something great, then, I mean, that's a good thing, right? You never get to the end of something that brings you joy. You never get to the end of something that brings you pleasure. You never get to the end of something that makes you happy. That's what no fixed boundaries are all about. The challenge is, the problem with a lot of people is that we live in a box, so to speak, where we create boundaries, or we allow other people to create boundaries for us, whether it's your job, whether it's, let me give you an example of your job. This is one thing that I absolutely hate. I hate when people say, well, my boss told me to do this at my job. Don't give that person that strength, that power. That's not your boss. God is your boss. That may be your employer. But why would you say that somebody is your boss? Just that coming out of my mouth right now is kind of like sending me there. I give nobody that power. You're not my boss. God is my boss. You may be my employer, right? When you do things like that, give somebody the power to say that they're your boss, then that's a boundary that you have. That's a boundary that you have. And it goes back to, there's an analogy that I teach periodically, and I can't remember even where I picked it up from, but it's something called the elephant mentality. And if you think about it like this, just paraphrasing a quick story, a baby elephant put in a fence, right? Let's just say in a circular fence that's, I don't know, 100 feet circular, whatever it may be. But they're put in this circular fence as a baby elephant. And they continue to grow, but they're still in the fence, right? They continue to grow, they're still in the fence. They've grown up and developed. Now think about those three adjectives I gave you earlier about infinite potential. I talked about growth, change, and development. Well, those baby elephants went through growth, they went through change, they went through development, but it was all in the confines of that fence, and that 100-foot circumference fence, right? Now you got a full-grown elephant, a big adult elephant at some point. And imagine removing that fence. Here's the crazy thing about this analogy. Even a big adult elephant, once that fence is removed, will still only walk or move around in that 100-foot circumference that used to house the fence. Their mindset has been developed to a point where they can't walk outside of that boundary because they don't know anything different. That has been their lives from birth. That has been their lives from baby elephants. At any point during their development, think about this. This is deep. At any point during their development, this semi-adult elephant could have easily leaned on the fence or walked through the fence or even pushed the fence down. They're strong enough to do that. And once they've done that, there's a whole new world. There's a whole universe outside of that fence, right? But they never take the initiative to push that fence down or to try to move beyond that fence. They just live in the confines of that fence. And even when it's removed, they still live in the confines of what used to be the fence. Guys, we're in a lot of cases the exact same way. We have set fixed boundaries in our lives where it doesn't matter the fact that if you just take one step, just like that elephant, you're outside of that fence. And there's a whole new world of possibilities that's out there for you. You just never took that one step, just like the baby elephant didn't, or the adult elephant didn't. They didn't take that one step, right? There's a limitless amount of possibilities outside of those fixed boundaries. So the moral to this story is don't box yourself in to fixed boundaries. You know, don't put yourself in a box. Don't allow somebody to be called or act as your boss, because if you give them that power, they're going to take it, right? Understand that you only have one boss, and that's God. Everything else is just a part of your space, your universe. That person or persons is your employer, not your boss. Something else you want to write down about the limitlessness of life, and that is to understand that there's an opportunity for you to have endless exploration of what's out there. Remember, talking about this elephant, right? Think about this. Life is viewed as an ongoing journey of exploration. You're just exploring this, you're exploring that from day to day. This is, by the way, if you have no boundaries. If you have fixed boundaries, here's what happens to your life if you have fixed boundaries. You go to work every week, you work 40 hours a week. Some people work more, 40 hours a week for 40 years, and then you retire on half of what wasn't enough in the first place. So sometimes you have to end up getting another job or something even after retirement. Think about it. Work 40 hours a week for 40 years, retiring on half of what wasn't enough in the first place. Well, when you start talking about endless exploration, that means you want to not just stop where you are and say, hey, look, this job is a good job and I'm going to be here. No, there's just so much that value that you can bring to your life just by exploring other possibilities, just by doing some things that's different than you did yesterday. I consciously push myself to change my routine as often as possible because I don't want to get stuck into stagnation. I don't want to get into box myself into a certain place. I'm going to eat a certain day, eat a certain thing, eat a certain time, you know, sleeping on the same side of the bed here, or do this or this or this or this. No. You want to expand yourself to the point where you have endless exploration. Individuals, yourself, you can continuously discover just new things about yourself, new things about your life, new things about the people that are around you and the entire world around you, if you just took the initiative to understand that there are endless opportunities for you to explore. Exploration, right? I challenge you to just do something different. You know, tonight is Thursday, sometime between now and Sunday, do something different than you did the previous week. I'm going to challenge you to do that. You know, explore these endless possibilities, expand your mindset, know the value of the limitlessness of life, right? There's something called expansive horizons. And I don't want to get too deep because it's not deep at all. These are just fancy words that you learn in school and all this other kind of stuff. But expansive horizons, all that means is it's just urging people to kind of look beyond their immediate circumstances, where you are right now, and embrace a broader perspective. couple of days ago, my business partners and I, Jeff Landry, Stanley Doucette, we did a talk show called Unleashed Live. It's an opportunity talk show. And one of the things that Mr. Landrum talked about is, he always gives an analogy about driving forward, moving forward. That's why the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror. Well, there is absolutely some truth and reality to that. And we want to make sure that when you're building and understanding the limitlessness of life, that when I refer to expansive horizons, I'm talking about, just being or thinking or looking or living beyond your immediate circumstances. Some people only focus on just what's going on right now, today, but you got to think forward. You got to look forward. You got to act and react forward, right? It's very important. And then you embrace a broader perspective of what life has. These are the things that are going to bring you joy in life. These are the things that are going to make you happy. So you have to be able to do that. A part of that too is just, when we're talking about expansion and expansiveness and endless exploration, all of these things, but all of that is it just leads to freedom and creativity. It gives you a sense of freedom to do what you want to do, be what you want to be, have what you want to have. There are no limits to it. As creative as you can be, if you can think it, you can do it, is what I'm trying to say. So be creative, be free. But all of these things that we're talking about in terms of the limitlessness of life, you cannot be totally creative and totally free if you don't understand those limitations and understand that you are limitless in the possibilities. Freedom and creativity, that's the freedom to think. You need that freedom to think, to ponder, to create mentally. So you're talking about thinking, you're talking about creating. You want to be innovative. And that's without having any kind of rigid constraints or restrictions or anything. Think about a kid. Think about a baby, a toddler. Humans are only born with two fears. That's the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. That's the only two fears that we are born with. Every other fear is learned. Every other fear is learned. But think about the freedom and creativity of a young child, because there are no boundaries. They'll do anything. They'll jump off a table. They'll jump off a cabinet. They'll write on the walls. They'll drink anything liquid you put in front of them, good or bad. I drank my fair share of unintended beer when I was a kid, and I'm like, this water is nasty. That ain't no water, son. And that wasn't my mama, so don't y'all think that it was somebody else. But anyway, need I digress? Kids are very creative because they don't have any boundaries. We put these boundaries on ourselves by limiting our level of expectations. So we want to be free. We want to be creative. We want to be able to think and create and innovate. Man, there's so much magic in the power of thinking. There's so much magic in the power of you being innovative and just creative. And a lot of times, even with my food, it's like I may just try something that most people may think is crazy, but I just want to try it just to see how it is. Either I'm going to like it or I'm not, right? But I have that freedom of creativity, that innovation. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. That's how the Reese's candy bar was created, from my understanding. Somebody had peanut butter and somebody had chocolate, and some kind of way it just kind of, interwove with each other. And then there you go, the Reese's bar. Innovative. All right. So just think creatively, and a part of being creative, though, is to be optimistic and understanding the possibilities. So optimism and the possibilities, you want to write that down as well, because all of these things that I'm talking about now, and again, I'm going to wrap up. I didn't want to be too long, but all of these things that I'm talking about, if you don't have optimism about the possibilities of these things working, then guess what? They won't. I think it was, Maya Angelou or someone who said, first of all, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. Right? But then in addition to that, you're the sum total of all your thoughts, all of your feelings, all of the people that you hang around. All of these things matter. So when you're talking about optimism and possibilities, then you have to think broader than your people, broader than your circumstance, broader than your situation, broader than people that you talk to on a daily basis. Most people are negative, frustrated, and disillusioned about life. So why would you even go to them for advice? You want to talk to people about, things that are positive, things that are optimistic, people that will encourage you that there are no such thing as or let me say it this way: everything is possible. Let's put it that way. And people who encourage you to go for it, whatever it is, as opposed to trying to hold you back. A lot of times when they're trying to hold you back, because they don't want you to be an example of what they should do or what they could do. So they want you to stay there miserable with them. No, we don't play that. Right. So understanding optimism and the possibilities. There are always new possibilities. There are always new opportunities that are just on the horizon. We just got to keep forging ahead, even in the face of challenges, even in the face of adversity, even in the face of negativity, even in the face of negative family members, negative friends, whatever the case may be. There are always new possibilities and opportunities on the horizon. You just have to understand that. And with that thought in mind, continue to forge ahead, just knowing that whatever it is that you so desire is there, right? And, last but not least, I want to talk about with this, just the whole, how can I put it? It's more or less like unbounded growth. All of this is the same thing. I'm giving adjectives for the same thing. But when you're talking about unbounded growth, well, what that means is, personal and collective growth, it can be infinite. It would be infinite. It'll continue to be or continue indefinitely. And there's always room for improvement. There's always room for self-discovery. There's always room for that unbounded growth. You can always get better. I mention this podcast quite often, because it's been my highest rated podcast ever. It is an older podcast. You can go back to my website, the deepdivepodcast.live, and search the podcast called Building Capacity. I refer to this a lot because most people's challenges are because of a lack of capacity, right? That means in a lot of cases, you have to grow in order to get what you desire. And in a lot of cases, people that you want to be on this journey with you, they have to grow too. Sometimes you grow and you'll wonder why you're still stagnated. There's that word. And you're not moving, or it feels like you can't move. The reason being is because you want somebody to be on that journey with you, and they don't have the capacity to be there with you. So they have to grow too, right? So unbounded growth means you have to continue to improve. You have to continue to self-discover. You have to continue to self-develop. Those are the things that's going to help you on your journey to the limitlessness of life. So just to kind of summarize, just if you're taking notes, just, bullet points, the limitless of life, all of those things that I just shared with you, it pretty much just encapsulates the idea that life is infinite. It is boundless. It's open-ended. That's a good word. I used to love these Star Trek movies, the old TV shows, the movies, everything. I like that because the possibilities are endless. They would fly to another planet. They would go to different parts of the universe. They would meet different kinds of people, alien life, different human lives, just all kind of stuff, right? So when you're thinking about the limitlessness of life, it encapsulates that the fact that there are no boundaries. It's open-ended. It's an open-ended journey, just like Star Trek. It's an open-ended journey filled with potential, filled with possibilities, filled with encouraging other people and individuals to explore, filled with giving them an opportunity to grow and embrace limitlessness of nature, limitlessness of even their existence. Just knowing that I'm here because God created an opportunity for me through giving me life. Now, what I do with that life is what I have to give back to God. And I don't want to give God any junk. So I want to give him my best. That means you have to be creative. You have to have no boundaries. You have to have no limits as it relates to your sheer existence. You just got to go for it. All right. You just got to go for it. The whole concept of the limitlessness of life is to inspire you. It is to inspire optimism. It is to inspire creativity. It is to inspire a sense of wonder about the world, about the universe, about your capacity of possibilities, even with your children. What you know how kids are. It's like no matter what it is that they do, you know that they can be great because they have no limits. They have no boundaries. That we start to, I'm gonna say this last thing and we'll get out of here. We start to put limitations and boundaries on our kids by using those negative words like no, stop, don't, you know, those kind of words. Now, I don't mean not to protect your kids or let them do anything crazy or anything like that, but you can't always with your kids, no, don't, stop, all of those negative things. You have to reinforce certain things that are positive so that you don't stunt their possibilities, so that you don't stunt their limitlessness of creativity. So don't always like, you know, stop, don't, no, quit, you know, those kind of things. Get creative yourself in terms of how you can still discipline and teach your children without putting any kind of limitations on them. All right. So, hey, look, that's all I wanted to talk about tonight. Again, I said I wanted to be kind of brief with the podcast. So we're rolling right along, guys. We're wrapping up season 3 very soon, and I'm already prepared for season 4. I can't wait. There's some great things going to happen in season 4. We still got a lot left in this season. Still got a lot of people that's on the waiting list in terms of you know, being guests on the podcast. But I'm just having a lot of fun, just kind of sharing messages of empowerment with you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, download, and share this podcast. Go to the website, the deepdivepodcast.live. Listen to some of the older episodes. Share those episodes with people because that information, it never expires. You always need to be empowered. So that information, even though it may have been in season 1, it's good information. Go back and listen to it. Share it with some people who may need a moment of empowerment themselves. All right. So thank you guys for joining me tonight on this particular episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Keep being great. Keep living life with a limitlessness of expectation. God bless you, and I'll see you on the beaches of the world.